Hello, everybody out there in the ecosystem. If you are part of the ecosystem, you are amongst the ecosystem, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Console Log, episode number 59. We are one away from episode 60. How do you feel about that?
I am very excited, and you know what? I think yes, we can. We can make it to 60.
Why do you say that slogan?
Well, you see, as you may have heard from a couple episodes ago, I won a certain prize from Cards Against Humanity. So here's the deal. I won an Obama bust. Now, please make no mistake, it is a bust, not a statue. So let me be clear. It is a half statue that is like statue from the waist up, and it is roughly life size. And I have been taking it around Manhattan today. It came, I declared today take Obama to work day, and you can see his adventures on my Twitter.
Did you do that just for the podcast?
No, I bought it because it was $5 and I wanted to have it.
No. Did you bring it to work today so you could have this story for the podcast?
No, I brought it.
The
Well,
answer is yes. The answer is yes.
yeah, I did it just for you listeners. Yeah, there's no other reason.
Uh, do check out Matthew's Twitter feed to see the adventures of the Obama bus on the subway and streets of Manhattan. This is episode number 59. Two show notes again. We're on Spotify. Check us out. Check us out on the Spotify's, yo. And also, I've said this once, twice, three times a charm. At the end of the year, starting next year, only catch us in audio form. YouTube's uploads are going away, and you will only be able to hear our lovely voices. If you miss seeing me, you can still subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I will still be making videos, but not console log uploads. That will be just in the audio only sphere.
Yeah, and if you've never seen me, I give tech talks sometimes that I link to from my Twitter.
Well, let's get this December, this chilly, this brisk episode started. First things first, I want to do a
You're the
plug
realist?
because NPM, a realist.
First things first, I'm the realist. Drop this and let
Who's
the whole
that?
world feel it.
Who's that?
That's Iggy Azalea. You said first things first, so I was having fun.
All right, fair enough. So NPM has their annual JavaScript ecosystem survey out, which I encourage everybody out there to take. It'll help give a nice view into what the JavaScript ecosystem looks nowadays. What has changed, what has grown. It didn't take me that much time to fill out. Definitely think it's worth your time to give this and help figure out what's going on in the ecosystem.
Yeah, this is separate from the State of JS survey that also went out earlier this year. So we will hopefully see some exciting 2018 results about the JavaScript ecosystem survey.
Yeah, I remember when it came out last year, there was some really pretty graphs. NPM operates on a scale that is hard to comprehend, talking about billions of downloads a week. It's always interesting seeing when they have their dips in downloads because of holidays. Every Thanksgiving, every Christmas, you can see just like a billion downloads less that week because people were not working. Thank God.
Yeah, I don't write code over the holidays.
I do, but it's mostly about how to. No, I don't. That's a lie. In other news, Node is moving the Node 8.x branch into maintenance mode in January 2019. That's interesting because it was supposed to be I believe it was supposed to be an LTS branch, the 8 branch, but there's an issue opened up about how they've actually fallen behind on backports for the 8.x branch. And rather than trying to kill themselves, trying to backport all these changes, they're just going to, put it into maintenance mode earlier, a whole year earlier. It's supposed to go into maintenance mode December of 2019, but it lets them focus more on the 10.x branch, which is the one that's under active development, which will also be LTS. So I think this is probably a good move on their half because it definitely lets them focus on things that are more pertinent, but it's interesting to see that trade-off being taken.
Yeah, I mean, how often would they add new features to 8.x?
I think 8.x, I think, I don't really know the full details of the rules they have in terms of what they backport to branches, but I think they do backport some features that are coming just by way of maybe V8 patch upgrades or something. I don't really know the full details, but
Got it.
uh, it's which is suffice it to say, if you have the flexibility to not use an LTS branch of Node, then you are always upgrading anyways. But it's always a good idea to stay on those LTS branches to get that
Yeah.
stable fixes all the time.
Random funny story. I was working on a project with two other engineers, and we were all getting different results in our Jest tests. So after several hours of trying to figure out what was going on there, I was like, okay, everyone type node dash dash version, and we were all running completely different major versions of Node. I, of course, was running Node version
Yeah.
11 because I live on the bleeding edge. So we standardized on 10 because that is the one that makes sense and also the one we are using elsewhere. And
Yeah, it's a good stable choice.
yeah, separately from all this, Harry mentioned the word details. And you know where you can get details about someone's reactions to things? Well, that was
Oh,
a
just get
terrible
on, just get
segue.
on with it. Just tell me, get to the punchline.
You can
We
go
gotta we
to
gotta cut these leading things out.
you can go to overreacted.io and read Dan Abramov's new blog. So Dan Abramov, who is kind of the PR engineer for React at this point, he's on a larger team, and the team has many talented devs. By many talented, I mean I think there's like 5 or 6 of them, but they're all super talented. But Dan is usually the one making press releases, and he recently started his own personal blog called Overreacted, which I think is the punniest name ever. And he talks about some really interesting things like how set state works and why do React elements have a type of property and how does React tell a class from a function. So definitely check out his blog. It's just like a lot of really cool deep dives. It's nice to learn how this stuff works under the hood. And yeah, you can enjoy it. Just enjoy
I
it and
always
flutter
find
away.
Yeah, well, I always find his blog posts very entertaining because you can kind of read in between the lines of how many times he's been burned in the past from saying things that have been misconstrued and taken out of context, and then he has to spend an entire year trying to correct that because most of his blog posts on his blog are littered with disclaimers and cautions that this is not required. This is not a good interview question. This is not necessary, but it's interesting, and I have
I,
information to share with
I think
you.
that's my favorite one. This is not a good interview question.
Yeah, with that, it's back to Spider-Man with great. What is it? With great
Great power
power.
comes great responsibility.
Yeah, and Dan's got both, and he definitely feels the weight of that, and you can kind of see it come out sometimes in that blog post. He needs a pen name maybe to just be able to write anonymously and not have all the scrutiny that is there. I can
He
only
should
imagine that
honestly do
stress.
that. He should pick up a pen name.
His pen name should be uh, Mover Dan, like something backwards. I don't know.
That was
Uh,
I was thinking he could just call himself like I don't know, like J.K. Abramov or something.
House Gryffindor.
Dude, Gryffindor is the worst house. Gryffindor is for people who peaked in
Yeah,
high school.
yeah. Google this past week announced the 1.0 release of Flutter, which is their portable UI toolkit. It's the first stable release of Google's UI toolkit, and this is their marketing speak that I'm going to read in ugly italics for creating beautiful native experiences for iOS and Android from a single code base. Flutter is built on Dart, which, if you've never heard of Dart, was um, a derivative of JavaScript that has some baggage around it, but it's a nice language in its own right. But because of history, it's a little bit scorned. The short story of that is Google at one point did a bad marketing move and framed Dart's presence as an attempt to replace JavaScript, and the community was not having it. So Dart's kind of been a bad word, like I'm trying to think of a Harry Potter reference, and I'm failing so hard. Voldemort. Dart is the Voldemort of the JavaScript world.
Yeah,
You're shaking your head. That's fine.
if you wanna try out the new thing that Google is going to deprecate in 2 years with no clear migration strategy, try out Flutter.
Flutter's built on Dart. It's
And
kind
and
of like
while you're
React
at
Native.
it, talk to your teammates on Allo about it.
Oh man,
I'm
throwing
just
that
throwing
shade
shade.
hard. That's good. I mean, but so Flutter is essentially Google's answer for React Native. You write everything in Dart with the Flutter framework, and it compiles down to native iOS and Android code. Um, it's interesting. It's now stable, so if you have a curiosity there, it's time for you to try it out. Speaking of stable releases, my segue of the day, WordPress, everybody's favorite PHP software, and probably the only piece of PHP software that a lot of people know about, released their new version 5.0. WordPress 5.0 is now final, stable. The marquee feature of WordPress 5, the reason why I'm talking about it today, is it has the new Gutenberg editing experience. And essentially in WordPress 5, they completely replaced and redid the editing experience in WordPress with an entirely React implementation of being able to write posts, stories, whatever. The easiest way to think about Gutenberg is it resolves around blocks is like the primitive they have, which is if you ever played around with Medium.com, where you kind of insert custom media or
Hold on.
paper.
Gutenberg's fundamental unit is blocks,
Yes.
like a printing press.
That I guess I would not put that pun past them. I'm sure they thought about that. But I mean, it's kind of like you can make custom blocks. You can have like a custom YouTube block. You put in a ID and it's in there directly. Like it's kind of an abstraction away for making rich posts because now with Web 3.0, which I don't know if that's real, you now expect posts to be more rich. So Gutenberg is their answer to figure out a way to do that. But
we kind of just expect everything to be properly unfurled on all pages at this point.
yeah, the what you see, what you get has been graciously deprecated in terms of a PR word because that's the worst. But yeah, definitely people are trying to make things as real to the end result as possible. Most things WordPress.
I don't know about you,
I was just
Harry,
gonna say.
but I was just gonna say that I at some point in time had a job that was exclusively WordPress. I used to say that WordPress was effectively my operating system. So even though
No, but for many people it is. It absolutely is.
even though I no longer have to work in WordPress, I do remember fondly those days when I was in college and making some money.
Yeah, and like most things WordPress, Gutenberg is entirely open source, so you can go in there and poke at their React code and see all those tricks they use to make this thing a reality.
Yeah, it's pretty nifty. And speaking of React, React Redux 6 is officially out now. So React Redux 6.0 has support for the new context API, or not so much support as that's what it's using. So there are no more updating blocking problems, which means it is strict mode compatible. Strict mode being the React strict mode, not the JavaScript strict mode. It has always been JavaScript strict mode compatible. But anyway, that means that eventually this will be able to support async/concurrent rendering. I don't know what it's called today, but either way,
Concurrent.
It's concurrent now.
Yeah.
I forgot which was first.
Now it's concurrent.
Oh.
Now it's concurrent. Now it's concurrent.
You want to hear a TCP joke?
When?
Now?
That was more like a UDP joke.
UDP tweets from Tinkerbell was one of our best episodes.
Yeah, it really was. Yeah, it's out. I'm looking forward to. When I say looking forward to upgrading, I mean I have suppressed optimism on the upgrade path for this. So I'll see how that goes and report back.
Yeah.
Last item in the world of React is there was a new thread opened up on the React Native community GitHub page, which is a GitHub org just for talking about React Native. And the topic of this thread was what do you dislike about React Native? Started by Christophe Poger, C. Poger, which I think his name's different now, but he's opened up the thread inviting people to tell him and the team what they don't like about React Native so that they have things to actually fix and make better for people. What's interesting here is Christoph he works at Facebook, and before working on the React Native team, which he just joined, he actually was on the Jest team, Jest being the test runner. And I'm sure he'd disagree, but in many respects, he was responsible for the rebirth of Jest from the laughingstock of test runners to now the most beloved and desired testing framework.
Well, testers are supposed to be funny.
Yeah, very funny. And seeing him now get on the React Native team and try to start getting things better for everybody is definitely a very strong sign of confidence that there are good things ahead for React Native.
Yeah, and like the first thing he calls out is that there aren't enough emoji in the CLI, which I thoroughly support that.
It's always the case.
Yeah, I'm always using more emoji. It's just what I do. I was working on my upcoming talk over the weekend, and I spent an inordinate amount of time getting MDX Deck to work with custom emoji or just, small images that I want inline in text.
Yeah, that Unicode support, it's always a tricky one.
Yeah, well, it's not so much Unicode support as I don't think Twitter is ever going to get a Unicode character, but I need that Twitter icon as an emoji.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I hear that. This past week, Microsoft released a new plugin for VS Code called IntelliCode. And when I first saw this, I was like, wait, doesn't this already exist? And I read it again and again, and I was like, oh no, I have IntelliSense. This is IntelliCode. Their
way different
game. Yeah, their marketing game is unstoppable. But IntelliCode is a sister plugin for IntelliSense that kind of understands your code and recommends common completion items for your current context. So IntelliSense I'm still not fully sure about the difference between them, but it seems like IntelliCode is going to be a little bit better at suggesting to you what methods and variables you want to be using next.
Yeah, I just installed it, but I haven't gotten a chance to play with it.
Yeah, I've installed it as well, and I'm trying to, hit these IntelliCode parts, but I haven't been able to find it yet. I haven't been coding enough, I think, to actually trigger them. But, anything that makes... I think also what I saw someone comment actually was about how it brings some features that Java engineers just expect from other IDEs. So this is getting VS Code to have more of the functionality that most modern editors and IDEs already have. So that's always a thing that's exciting.
Yeah, I mean, VS Code is becoming more and more of a real IDE every day, which is just super awesome.
And the big news this past week that I think everybody has been talking about is that Microsoft is going to be officially building a Chromium-powered web browser that will replace Edge on Windows 10.
Yeah, this is just like the most insane thing they've ever done.
Yeah, this is it definitely split the online ecosystem this past week because there were those that were like, great, less platforms to test on. And other people that were like, no, diversity is what helps keep the web pure and good. And they're both right.
Yeah, I really don't know. What I found the funniest was the number of former Microsoft engineers who came back and asked for Microsoft to retroactively change their performance review because they had tried to make this happen in the past.
Yeah, change takes a long time. But, for many reasons, one of which is that, Microsoft's trying to get more and more buy-in to have JavaScript be their common denominator language, like being able to use Electron as like a common abstraction for make applications. And there's just some rumors in the Twitter sphere that has been saying this, that they've been trying to have Edge get in parity with the APIs for Chromium such that they could make a version of Electron that was powered by Edge, not Chromium, but the hill to get to that compatibility was very high, that I think they kind of just weighed the cost benefit there and said that it's better just to throw in with Chromium rather than trying to beat them.
Yeah, I really hope that Microsoft just takes this opportunity to just really get a foothold into the Chromium world. I want them to have a major say in what happens to that project because I don't want it to just be Google, and then we can kind of increase the diversity of the web, even if it happens to be one project.
Yeah, if we get more people, they're also talking about bringing a version of Edge to Mac because it will be Chromium powered, and and it may be that if they have, better dev tools, better experiences, and they have an engine that is, compatible with most websites out there, there is a hope that Edge could get more market share to actually give more clout when things are being decided in the Chromium open source project. So
You know what
I don't think all things.
you know what you mentioned the Mac thing. What I think is so interesting is how many developers are going to forget to test on Windows altogether now because they have Edge on a Mac.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, this past week I found a bug at work where it seems like Chrome on Windows is not behaving like Chrome on Mac.
Well, it's
I'm
really
not
just
looking forward
it's
to it.
always scroll bars. Literally always scroll bars.
This was having to do with proxies.
Well, those are not scroll bars, but they could be a proxy
No.
for scroll bars.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's time for Harry's favorite segment of the podcast.
Matthew's jokes. Matthew's jokes. This is the time where Matthew tells jokes.
Exactly. Yeah, so I took all these jokes from, so I am borrowing jokes from our former president, Barack Obama. Most of the jokes that he has told over his career were regarding turkey pardons. So for those of you who don't know or aren't in the United States, there is a Thanksgiving tradition where we eat turkey, and there is a tradition where the president pardons one turkey that gets to live. We Americans are a strange bunch. But
I was just watching the West Wing, and they had an episode about this, and they couldn't kill the other turkey. They were too sad. Sorry.
Yeah. So in his second to last year, he said, "It is hard to believe this is my 7th year of pardoning a turkey. Time flies, even if turkeys don't."
Is that a pun, a joke, or is just an observation?
The president said it, so it is what it is. And I'm looking up at that bust, and he's looking over me. His next turkey joke
Is he
was
laughing?
Sorry?
Is he laughing?
Do busts laugh?
I mean, they could bust a gut.
They could bust a move. Yeah.
Mm.
Anyway, his next turkey joke was in his final year of his presidency, which is what I haven't told them yet. It is we are going to do this every year from now on. No cameras, just us every year. No way I'm cutting this habit cold turkey.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
and then
that's some quality wordplay.
And then from the White House Correspondents' Dinner in 2009, Barack Obama opened with, "Sasha and Malia aren't here tonight because they're grounded. You can't just take Air Force One on a joyride to Manhattan. I don't care whose kids you are."
That has nothing to do with turkeys.
Yeah, well, they weren't all turkeys.
Oh, I thought they were all about turkeys.
No, the first two were about turkeys. The last one was not.
What the hell?
Harry,
That was some.
fine. Do you want me to find
broken
you? Do you want me to find
expectations.
you a turkey joke?
No, I'm over it now. You only get 3 jokes an episode. You've used your 3.
I tell more than 3 an episode, but we only give me 3 jokes in my own segment per episode. It's part of my contract for doing the console log.
That's true.
Yeah.
That was your episode, episode number 59 of the console log, last week of December 6th through December 12th. I hope you are enjoying these episodes. We always do appreciate hearing from you. That's always the best part of our days. And any last words from you, Matthew?
Yeah, so next Monday, the 18th, I'm giving a talk on salary negotiation at the React NYC meetup. So if you are in New York City, come watch my talk and say hi to me.
Yeah, you could take that talk to the bank.
I will.
Bye, everybody.